Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa wala amma ba'd. So first of all, jazakumullahu khairan for ICNA, for all of you, and for our esteemed speakers. So as he said that I wrote few books, talking about generational gap, I just want to tell you, almost 10 years ago, I wrote a book on man-woman interaction in Islam. Man-woman interaction in Islam. Not even 10 years ago, 8 years ago. In 2016, it was published. Because back in the days, whenever I go to different communities, I used to give workshops. Most common question in the youth workshops by brothers and sisters, in MSAs, in young Muslims, can a man and a woman be friends? Talking about generational gap. In 2024, while I'm giving the workshop, you know the common question? Can a man be a woman? And I'm not joking. This is not even a generational gap. I feel like my book of man-woman interaction in Islam is irrelevant because of within a generation, just a decade gap, have changed the dynamics so much. I just want to tell you 3 to 4 things, depending on how much time I have, about how to do a proper parenting in the Western environment. For those of you who love to read books, at least 3 of you in the audience, how many of you love to read books? Raise your hand. And the rest of the losers, can you raise your hand? Okay, no worries. Okay, okay. Those who love to read books, they can go. If you read Arabic and it's translated in Urdu, my thesis is on this topic of PhD thesis, the aspects of tarbiyah in Surah Yusuf from psychological perspective. It's almost translated in English, inshallah. PDF will be available. I'll just summarize that, inshallah, in the next 15, 17 minutes, inshallah. But before I can begin, I want to give you 3 disclaimers. And these disclaimers are important. Talking about anything, whether it's family, like our sister and Imam was speaking, or gender, sexuality, whatever you are speaking, even parenting, any topic which you're talking about Islam these days is potentially controversial. So I want to put these 3 disclaimers. I would request you all, leave your social biases outside for 20 minutes. I'll give you ample amount of time after I'm done with my speech. If you want to insult me, I will come in the aisle and you can insult me. Okay? But I would say, please, keep your social bias away. Listen to these 3 disclaimers and then listen to the conversation. First, you tell me, is in the parenting in the West, is it a child-centered parenting or parent-centered parenting? What do you think? Child-centered parenting. Okay. Parents, teachers have to change and even confirm and affirm the feelings of the child. And if they will try to change the feelings of the child based on their values, in certain segments of our community, they are considered as toxic parents. Solution is not the parent-centered parenting, by the way. Because us as a Muslim, we should do Allah-centered parenting. Because we don't say that parents by default they are right or kids by default they are right. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have given the authority to parents so that they can raise kids properly, but they have authority and they have a responsibility also. And how they will gauge whether their parenting is right, we have Quran and Sunnah guardrails. So first thing is that it is a very controversial topic. I'm teaching this, I'm speaking in Canada, where vast majority of us are being exposed with the idea of child-centered parenting, and some of you will already be thinking that I'm advising some of the parents how to do tarbiyah, how to raise kids. It is considered as toxic. Why I'm not letting parents choosing and letting them find their self? Because that is considered toxic according to certain segments of community. So that's first problem of addressing this topic. Second problem is, do you need father and mother as a teamwork, as our respected Ustada was saying, right? But do you know how many kids are fatherless in America? Give me any numbers, just tell me. I just want to ask you. I don't want you to sleep. Tell me. I don't know about Canada. This is my 5th time in Canada, but in America, how many kids are fatherless? Don't give me percentage, give me numbers. Huh? 1 million? No, you're very generous. Increase. 13, increase. 15, increase. 18. 18 million kids are fatherless in America. Go to fatherhood.org and you can find out more. How can we talk about parenting when you don't even have father physically present at home? Did you see? We don't believe in bandage therapy, by the way. We believe going in root cause. Or let's put it another way. We don't, like Foucault said, father of postmodernity, but he said something right here, that we should not go for immediate enemy, we should go for chief enemy. Try to go for the root cause instead of just providing bandage therapy. Okay, let's see this. So that's some father, 18 million at least in America, are physically absent, and then you have some of them who are emotionally absent. Should I turn this into a father-bashing lecture? No, so we'll come to the other side of the aisle also, okay? Third disclaimer is that the entire culture of gender antagonism, which is feminism and red pill movement, doesn't help parenting. For ideal Islamic parents, you need a teamwork. But this gender antagonism, gender hostility, doesn't create the gender solidarity where you can have teamwork. Because both these feminism and red pill movement, they want to uplift one gender and demonize other gender. Or uplift one gender at the expense of other gender because they have gender-centered worldview. It creates a lot of gender hostility which impacts the kids because we need teamwork for raising proper kids. Remember these three disclaimers and now start inshallah ta'ala. You know, when I agree that raising kids in Western countries, or generally, it's more difficult than, let's say, 200 years ago or a generation ago because of the technology. When I was growing up as a teenager, we didn't have phone. We had those PC1, PC2, those big computers, like a sofa-like computer in the room, and then slowly turned into a big, heavy laptop. Now laptop turned into tablet, and now everything is on the phone. And now AI is coming. كأنه يوم القيامة. We don't know how it will going to end. So, technology-wise, parenting will bring new challenges. But now tell me one thing. If you were going to ask your grandfather, was raising my father was a difficult thing, he will say yes. If you ask your father that raising me was a difficult thing, he will say yes. And then if I will ask you, raising your kids are difficult, you will say yes. So even though challenges are there in every generation, but we sometimes exaggerate. And we will say that the challenges, the kids are ill-mannered today, the kids are not listening today. Wallahi, same thing your parents were saying about you. And same thing your grandparents were saying about your parents. But yes, there is one thing. And I want to actually just go onto that target. I have how many minutes? Is that time right? I haven't even started first point. Okay. It says 4 minutes. How is it possible? Okay. Maybe it's a sign of day of judgment. Time will pass by very quickly. Right? Okay, no worries. Just give me a reminder, okay? I'm a colorblind person. I don't see those yellow and red cards, okay? Okay, let's start, inshallah. First, out of all the challenges, if I will ask you, which challenge is the root cause of all the challenges in terms of parenting? What will you say? People might have different experience, so they will give different answers. Maybe about doubts and desires. If you will ask me, I will say the root cause is actually the entire godlessness. Godlessness. All the things are symptoms. The root cause is godlessness. So let's talk about that, how to basically immunize our kids to the dangers of godlessness. You know the word tarbiyah? In English, we say the word raise. We are raising our kids. Raising in English would never convey the idea of the Arabic word tarbiyah. The Arabic word tarbiyah, if you go back to dictionary, it says insha'u shay halan fa halan ila hadd tamam. This is tarbiyah in Arabic is that you are letting something or someone grow, like your kids, you are giving them chance and opportunity to grow from one stage to the other, from the other stage to the other, ila hadd tamam, until they reach to their potential. That is very different than this English word, we are raising kids. So tarbiyah is, you are giving them opportunity to grow from one stage to the other until they reaches to its potential, his or her potential. It's very different than raising in a context. When you say, I'm raising my kids, it means you're working on the empty pot. In Islam, your kids that are not like an empty pot. When we say we are doing tarbiyah, we say that our kids have fitrah, built-in concept of worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They have the introduction. What we need to do as a parents, we don't need to hijack their personalities. Rather, we need to help them by removing the weakness which comes from the environment, keeping an eye on them so that those weaknesses won't corrupt them and their fitrah until they are on cruise control. This tarbiyah concept is very different than hammering your own concept and then after 10 years realizing that actually I was even ignorant, right? So they already have the introduction of Allah. They have fitrah, built-in concept. You just need to help them by removing the weakness coming from the society. This is what tarbiyah means. Okay, now, first thing, and I'll be very quick, inshallah, there's 2-3 points. First thing you need to do for Islamic way of raising kids. First, when we realize that the biggest challenge here in America for Muslim parents is the godlessness and all other symptoms are going back to this root cause, the first thing is that when you are raising kids, remember one word, purposeful focus. You know, nowadays in management meetings, they will tell you focus is so important. There are books and PhD researchers are coming. I will add one more word, purposeful focus. Not only focus, purposeful focus. What does it mean? Every parent here wants to see their child successful. Yes or no? Okay. So we Muslims are no exception. We Muslims here, we also want to see our kids successful. But our definition of success, we have to redefine what success is because we don't define in a materialistic way. We want them to go into the Harvard and MITs of the modern day schooling so that they can get their PhDs and masters. We want them to be entrepreneurs. We want them to be self-sufficient so they can help themselves, help their family, help the community, give it back to community. But we want them eternally to be and eventually to be successful in Akhirah so that they can go to Jannah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all Jannah. Say Ameen. This is radically different than the modern Western idea of success because they have removed the concept of success in Akhirah. They don't believe in Akhirah. And when we talk about success and we see videos on YouTube, sometimes parents and kids or mutually we can get impacted with materialistic thing. So have a purposeful focus. I'll give you an example. If there's this 1 and you'll put 0 right to the 1, it will keep becoming something valuable. You have 1 and then you are adding 0 right to the 1, right? If you are going to add zeros to the left of the 1, even though you added 10 zeros, it will be still worthless. Are you getting it? If you have PhD from Harvard, MIT, if you are entrepreneur, if you don't have that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you are still loser. But if you have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then your PhD, then your career, then your entrepreneur skill, then your job, then your 401k will be beneficial for you and beneficial for the community. So try, when we are raising the kids, first thing is purposeful focus on Allah-centric parenting. Try to bring Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala back into your parenting. That's the first thing. Okay. By the way, don't take me wrong. I do not want you to become pessimistic. We want Muslim community to go into the entrepreneurship, and have good careers so that if they will have good careers along with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they will give it back to community. But I'm saying have balance and priority. Second, when you are raising kids, you have to understand how to say this you are not raising a machine, you're raising a human being. I will tell you, Sheikh Abul Hassan al-Nadwi came in 1977 for the first time in America. And he went to Harvard, Princeton. He is an Indian scholar who passed away in 1999, famous scholar, just Google him. And in Chicago, one of the places he gave a lecture, so the People ask him after his lecture, how did you find American civilization and human beings here? He said something, and he explained in a beautiful way. He says, قَدْ رَأَيْتُ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ فِي أَمْرِيكَ إِلَّا الْإِنسَانِ. And then he explained, he's not disrespectful, I'll tell you how he said this. He said, I saw everything in America, gadgets, technology, except insan, except human being. And then they ask, we all are human being here. He says, after Industrial Revolution, you have defined human being as a machine. From the morning till the evening, you're chasing the dollars. We in Islam define human being along with the physical body, our ruh, our soul. I don't see any nourishment of soul in this American society. So you have so much growth in materialism, in technology, in science, but there is no concept of nourishment of the soul. For us, insan is that. Come back to this. When you are parenting the child, remember your child have a body, and then what your child have? Soul. Okay, let me ask you, both are important? Right, but which is more important? Because body, after the death, body will decompose. It does not mean we should ignore the body, but we are our soul in the body, not the body with the soul. So more important is the soul. Okay, now, so when you are raising kids, pay attention to their physical needs. If they need emergency, medical emergency, take them to the ER. It's the responsibility of the parents. Give them good education. If they are hungry, give them not only food, but the healthy and halal food. And then once they become teenager and then they are in that age where a new virus is installed in them regarding sexuality, then as a parent, don't ignore the physical needs and give them halal avenues before they will get confused and find haram avenues. This is one of the physical needs which is oftentimes ignored in our Muslim community as a parents. But is this the only parenting? No, this is only the physical needs of the kids. What about the emotional, intellectual needs? In the Quran, many times you will see prophets are talking to their kids. Yaqub is talking to Yusuf. Nuh alayhi salam is talking to even his disobedient son. Talking, let them emotionally grow and learn. But then the most important, and I would say in the materialistic society in America, and unfortunately some Muslim families are also impacted, there is no concept of spiritual growth for the kids. You know, when I see the schedule of I have 3 kids by the way, so when I see the schedule of the normal Muslim kid in America or in Canada, I haven't seen someone in Canada, so I'll just stay focused on America. I would say 9 hours sleep, 8 hours school, then a little bit fun, maybe watching some kind of cartoons or movies, and that's pretty much. Maybe some gadgets. Where is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this schedule? Let's say if you're going to public school. You don't even teach your kids that take 20 minutes out, 30 minutes out on, Jazakumullah khairan, 30 minutes out. Remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nourish your soul, because there is no concept of that. Okay, tell me, how many of you are parents here? Raise your hand. Okay, parents, this question is for you. When do you wake your kids for school? 7:30 or 7? 7? Okay. When is Salatul Fajr here? When is sunset or sunrise? 6:50-ish? Okay, let's say 6:45, let's assume. If you are waking your kids up at 7 a.m. for school, but if you're not waking them up at 6:40 for Salatul Fajr, this just tells me your priority. School is important? Absolutely. But Salatul Fajr is more important. Is that clear? So just resetting the priority. This is very important. This shows that how I'm nourishing the soul of my child. This is extremely important and indispensable. The final thing I would say, because we only have 3 to 4 minutes left, final 2 things, inshallah, is sometimes you will going to see that you are trying a lot with your son and with your daughter, and things are not working well. So be optimistic. That's the 3rd thing. Be optimistic. Be hopeful. Remember, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, نَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي. I blow my spirit into Adam. Can you imagine? We all have a portion Our soul is coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We all have that soul. Isn't that enough for giving us confidence that so much khair we have as a human being, even though we are committing sins, but we have potential khair, potential goodness? Allah asked angels to do sajda to Adam. That was our source. So we should feel so much optimistic. So if your kids are not listening to you, be optimistic. Maybe show the brokenness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ask dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And maybe it's time to show humility to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and show your hawl and quwwah that, oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I'm disavowing my hawl and quwwah, influence and power, and I'm trusting, relying on your hawl and quwwah, your influence and your power, help me out. And maybe after doing everything right, along with du'as, sometimes it might not work and your kids will go in a different direction. After making all the efforts, then there is no blame on you because we have Nuh alayhi salam's story also. So always be optimistic. We don't know what our kids can do, and sometimes higher expectation can actually put them down. The final thing, inshallah, before I can end, is the story of Surah Al-Kahf. You know, many times, I think either Ustada Hale or our Imam, someone said that be a good role model for your kids, and absolutely we have to be a good role model. But we believe from our epistemology, after you passed away, if you will do good deeds, even after you passed away, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will going to protect your kids just because you were doing good deeds. And I'll mention with this story. You remember the story of Musa and Khidr? Khidr alayhi salam, the third story, he constructed the wall. And Musa asked, why you are doing this? He says, I'm constructing the wall because this wall was about to fall and there is a treasure, money for these two orphans. And I need to protect the wealth so that I'm building a wall. And then he gave rational, وَكَانَ أَبُوهُمَا صَالِحًا. The father of these two orphan kids was a righteous person. Think about it. The father was a righteous person, he passed away. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Khidr and Musa, two righteous people on the face of the earth, to provide financial security to the kids. Subhanallah. Sometimes we are concerned about our financial planning for the kids. Just have a trust on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you take care of Allah's rights, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take care of your responsibility, inshallah ta'ala. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the ability to raise kids properly, because it's easy to become parent, but it's difficult to parent a child in this society. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all tawfiq and sadaq. Jazakumullahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum.